Yo, what's up everybody? I just beat Visions of Mana and it is the best game I have played so far this year in 2024, so you know what time it is. It is time for a Visions of Mana review. I would give Visions of Mana an 8.5 out of 10. That is the highest rated game I have played so far this year, and let me tell you why. So, for those who don't know, Mana is a very long time running RPG franchise. This is a JRPG, so obviously if you're interested in playing this game, you gotta understand that this game is extremely anime. The character designs are a little weird. They're very eccentric, over the top. There's talking deer and shit like that. Just overall weird shit. And also the story is very weird. And I think it's kind of cringe, to be honest. I do think the story is pretty cringe, but to me, if you know anything about how I rate things, how I grade games, story doesn't really matter to me. It just doesn't really add anything to my enjoyment of the game. I mostly play games for the gameplay and mechanics and stuff like that. So if you are somebody that is very, very story driven, narrative driven, maybe you like this, but I just kind of overall think most JRPG stories are kind of cringe, and this is no different. But it's the gameplay and the RPG elements and the builds and stuff like that where this game truly shines. It is absolutely super in depth. The builds are fucking crazy. So what happens is there's 5 playable characters, right? And each of them you can assign a different element. There's 8 elements like water, fire, wind, light, dark. There's tons of different elements, right? And each one of those elements, when you assign it to a character, what it does is it totally changes that character's class. So there's 5 playable characters, 8 elements. That's 40 different classes that you get to mix and match and do all these different builds with. Each class gets a new item, like a new weapon. They get new moves, all kinds of different things. Like, it totally changes how the character plays. So there's tons of different variety in terms of builds and things that you can do and ways that you can play the game. And that's the type of shit that I live for. That shit's really fucking dope. Another one of the things that I really, really like about this game is something that you guys might not like, is the amount of hand holding, which you guys like to say. This game is very hand holdy. It's very like, here's the waypoint, go right here, and when you're done with that, here's the next waypoint, go right here. There's not a whole lot of exploration in this game. It is very like, go right here, go right here, go right here. And if you actually, at least in the beginning of the game, if you actually drift too far away from the path, there's actually like invisible walls that would tell you like, hey, you're not supposed to go here yet, or hey, don't go here. Like, they're actually like really want you to get to that point, which to me is good. I genuinely like linearity. I like games like that. I don't like getting lost. I genuinely enjoy knowing exactly where I'm supposed to go, when I'm supposed to go there. And like, I like linear stuff like that, linear stories, stuff like that. So to me, that's a plus. But if you're somebody that really, really genuinely likes, just finding out where you're supposed to go naturally, or somebody that's really into exploration, you might not like this. But to me, I like it. I am deducting points for 2 things about this game, and they both come from the 3rd act of the game. I thought like the first 15 hours of this game, I actually had this game pretty close to a 10 out of 10. I was absolutely surefire fucking loving it, but then the last 5 hours of my playthrough, it started to teeter off a little bit, and that's because there's so many bosses at the end of this game. It really actually does turn into a boss rush. Like, all these giant monsters just release into the world, and you really just got to go fight one over and over and over again. And that's not necessarily bad, but I will say I was playing on normal difficulty, okay? I was not playing on hard. I was playing on normal. I play most games on normal, just kind of my default way to play. And I will say the bosses in this game are incredibly tanky. Like, they are kind of like bullet sponges. They just have a massive fucking health pool, and they just sit there and just tank forever. And boss fights tend to drag on a little bit, so when you have to fight them one after another and another just over and over and over again, fights really, really dragged on a lot, and I think it just kind of slowed down the pace of the game. Not only that, but the final boss, like the cutscene, at the very end of the game, you actually fight the final boss, right? He's like a 2-faced boss fight, and after you defeat him, it goes into this cutscene where you don't actually defeat him. Like, right after you beat him, there's a cutscene where he hits the whole party with this massive attack and knocks you guys all out, and then some bullshit, anime bullshit happens, and then the main character gets a huge power up, and then in a cutscene, he then defeats the final boss. Like, the player doesn't actually defeat the final boss, it's like happens in a cutscene. Like, you fight the final boss, you get his health all the way down, but that doesn't kill him, that doesn't defeat him, and then his actual loss happens in a cutscene, which I just thought was very, very unsatisfying. So I definitely docked an entire point off of that. The ending was not great, in my opinion, but I still think like the majority of this game, I had a absolutely fantastic time. I just really, really hope they kind of. I just would like to defeat the final boss myself, just not in a cutscene. That makes sense. I will note I also did the post game, the 2-hour post game of this game, and I thought it was pretty cool. Add some new weapons, some new gear, some new bosses. I thought it was pretty cool. So there is a post game. Like I said, it's about 2 hours long. I also did not do most of the side content. There's tons of side quests in this game that I did not do. But there is New Game Plus, which is a plus, and I will probably go do a second playthrough, change up my build, change up all the different characters, use tons of different things that I did the first time, and try to do a lot more of the side content to get a little bit more fleshed out into the world and try it again. But yeah, that is my Visions of Mana review. If you guys like JRPGs, go check it out. Really good game.